Welcome. I'm Allison Fergale, and I'm the lead faculty for the course in negotiations. So I'm going to stand here and tell you that I never thought I wanted to be a professor. And I feel somewhat cliche saying that because I actually think that most of my colleagues say that they never wanted to be a professor either, but it's true for me. I ended up coming into this field through my experiences in consulting. I was working in consulting for McKinsey & Company. I was based in Chicago, and I was doing a lot of traveling in the Midwest, doing a lot of work for automotive and financial services companies. And I had two experiences at McKinsey that really got me to appreciate the importance of negotiation. And it was these experiences with negotiation that actually convinced me to go this whole professor route in the first place. And the two experiences, they're almost realizations. And these realizations seem very obvious to me now, and they may resonate with you if you've ever been a consultant or worked with a consultant. But the two realizations were about what a strange job it is to work in consulting. Because when you work in consulting, two things are true. The first is you have direct authority over absolutely nobody. Nobody reports to you. And so you can rise in rank and seniority, and you can have a lot of accountability and responsibility, but you don't have anybody whose job it is to do what you want them to do. And that's unique. It looks different than most jobs. The other realization I have is that when you work in consulting, nobody really likes you. You're a stranger in someone else's world. You come in and you show up and you say, let me tell you how things are going to be different. And people react by saying, what do you know about my company and my life? At the same time, we also know that just the mere presence of a consultant signals that something's going to change. And we know a sort of a fundamental psychological tenet is that people are resistant to change. They like what they know. And so consultants were generally met with a very warm reception. So you put these two things together, that nobody really wants to work with you, and it's nobody's job to do what you say. It actually creates an incredibly challenging set of interpersonal circumstances to go to work every day and try to get anything done. So what I found was that I went to McKinsey really interested in corporate strategy. And what I found that I spent most of my day strategizing about was how to get somebody on the 13th floor who didn't know me, wasn't inclined to work with me, how to cooperate with me very quickly in these 3 months that I had to make a difference in this organization before I moved on. So I spent a lot of time thinking about why do people do what they do and trying to think about how do I negotiate with them? Because they wouldn't just do what I said. I had to think about what do they care about and what value do I actually bring? I started doing that and thinking about that a lot more, and I started to appreciate the importance of negotiation. At the same time, I was thrown into a lot of formal negotiations. One of the things we know about negotiation is that sometimes people don't like it. And a lot of organizations would hire McKinsey to do things they didn't want to do. And one thing they often didn't want to do was negotiate with their suppliers. And so I, somewhat surprisingly, found myself thrown into formal negotiation roles where I was negotiating on behalf of these clients. I actually spent about 8 months living in southern Indiana next to a rendering plant, negotiating long-haul trucking contracts. And it was an experience, but one that I'm glad that I don't have to do again. So after all of this negotiation, formal and informal, I became sort of really excited about that process and how interesting and complex it was. And so I decided that I was going to shift gears in my career. I decided I was going to leave consulting and I was going to go pursue a career in psychology and human behavior to really understand people, the science of people, and why they do what they do, how what they do is predictable, and how to use that science to make our lives better in organizations and to make our organizations better collectively. So I left McKinsey, I went to Stanford Business School, I got my PhD in social and organizational psychology, essentially the study of human behavior applied to organizations. And negotiation was really the core of my professional experience that made me realize how important this entire discipline was in the first place. So negotiation is really near and dear to my heart. When I graduated Stanford, I joined the faculty at UNC. I'm now in my 10th year on the faculty here, and I teach a variety of courses related to human behavior, but I spend a lot of time reading, writing, and teaching in the area of negotiation because, as I said, it is the thing that got me excited about this profession to begin with. So let's talk about the course. This course is about how to use negotiation to achieve our goals at work, at life, at home. And negotiation skills are not just skills that apply when we sit down at a formal bargaining table, but they're also skills that we can use in many informal interactions. Anytime you have goals that you're trying to achieve and you need another person's cooperation to achieve those goals, you have a potential negotiation. So many of our informal conversations that are simply part of our day-to-day professional life, like talking with colleagues, superiors, subordinates about how work gets done, who does it, and when it's due, those are negotiations. Even a conversation about what your child eats for dinner or when they go to bed, right? Any role where they have some say and their cooperation is necessary is a negotiation. So this course is not simply about those transactions, but about the myriad of opportunities that we have, formal and informal, to negotiate every single day. Now, at this point, there's two things that I want you to know about the course. The first is that the course is highly experiential. We are not just going to talk about negotiation, but you are going to negotiate. Negotiation is part science and it's part art. And the science comes from research, and that's why I'm here. But the art is about putting that science into practice in a way that works for you, and only you can do that. So we are going to practice negotiating every single week of this course. And this is going to give us an opportunity to really master the skills in a different format than a traditional problem set. It also is going to require you, though, to sometimes coordinate and negotiate with your classmates as outside of class assignments before we meet as a group. The other thing that I want you to know at this point is, due to the experiential nature, this is a really fun class. You are going to get to do a lot of different things and practice a life skill, a skill that you can use everywhere, not just at work. You're going to get to see how the way that you negotiate looks similar or different from your classmates. And that can be a really great basis of learning and enable you to discuss with them and learn from them and teach them in a way that's different than any other class that you've ever taken until this point. So by the end of 5 weeks, you're going to know a lot about your classmates. You're going to see inside their negotiation souls and understand a lot about how they work. And they are going to give you a lot of insight into how you work as a negotiator. So that is all I want you to know at this point. Everything else we will talk about in due time. But for now, I am glad you're here and we are going to have fun.